Hi everyone, we're going to sketch a graph of this polynomial and we're going to fill out some information first. I'm going to write my exponents here to get my degree since this is not in standard form. So I'm just going to add this up. We have 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4. So my n equals 4. 4 is an even number. And also my lead coefficient, we can call this -1 here, is negative. And we're going to talk about end behavior in just a minute. Okay, let's find our Y-intercept. That is when x is 0. So plug in 0 for x. And you get this. That equals 9. So we have 0, 9. All right, our zeros are our x-intercept, and that is when y is 0, or f of x. So if you do that, 1 minus 1 is 0. -1 plus 1 is 0. And -3 plus 3 is 0. So let's write down our zeros. 1, 0, -1, 0. And these have multiplicity of 1, which is an even number. We'll talk about that in a minute. And our -3, 0 has a multiplicity of 2. Now our turning points is you take your n, which is 4, and subtract 1. So that equals 3. So we have maximum, at most, 3 turning points. And our intervals where y is, f of x is negative and where f of x is positive, we're going to do after we graph. So let's go back to end behavior and talk about that. So even and negative. We have even and negative, which is this branch right in here. All right, this little box here. Even our degree was 4, so basically our graph comparison is y equals -x to the 4th, which looks almost identical to that, except that it's flatter in here around the 0, and then it shoots down faster. So we don't really care about that so much as we do the end behaviors. Now what this means is that we graph from left to right, that we're starting in quadrant 3 and ending in quadrant 4. Quadrant 3, both my x and y values are negative. In quadrant 4, my x values are positive and my y values are negative. So what this means, this part right in here, is x values get larger and larger from 0. My y values will be getting smaller and smaller from 0. And that puts us in quadrant 4. Now on this side is my x values get smaller and smaller from 0. My y values also get smaller and smaller from 0. So if you look at this box here, we have x is positive, our y is going to negative. That means positive, negative. That's quadrant 4. If you look at this, we have negative, negative. So that's quadrant 3. So let's graph this. We're starting in quadrant 3. We're ending in quadrant 4. My Y-intercept is right there, so I'm going to, maybe we can graph on top of it. We're just sketching a graph anyway, so I'll just graph over that. I have a 0 at 1, and -1, and -3. 1, 2, 3. Now, we're going to start here in quadrant 3, and let me write these down. This is -3, -1, and 1. And this was 9 up here. So as we go to -3, that -3 goes with this part. The multiplicity is 2. That means I can't cross the x-axis. I have to make a U-turn and come back like this. We're not going to worry about our exact values of our minimum there. We'll save that for another video. So that now at -1, that's this portion. My multiplicity is 1, which is an odd number. So I'm going to go up, whoops. Let me see if I can do this. It's really steep up here. So go up to 9, the Y-intercept, and come back down to 1. Now when we come back down to 1, that's also a odd multiplicity. So that means I can cross, and I cross down. And there is your sketch of your graph. And let's look at the turning points. We had a turning point here, turning point here, and turning point here. So we had 3 turning points. Now the last thing for us to do is to figure out those intervals. So here's the line y equals 0. Above that line is y is greater than 0. Below this line is y is less than 0. And our y is really f of x. So where is f of x positive? Well, f of x is positive right through here, right above the y equals 0. So right up in here, it's positive. So that's between -1 and 1. All right? Where is our f of x negative? Well, it's negative. I'll use purple here. It's negative from -infinity to -1. So that's going to be -infinity to -1. And it's also negative starting at 1. It comes down, back down in quadrant 4. Remember, y is negative in quadrant 3 and 4. So that's going to go from 1 to infinity. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.